All right. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha, Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And pretty much, as you can see, which I'm sure we're all already aware of, you had this video that was done by Bishop Nate or General Nate or whatever the title is now. Okay, and pretty much he was going into Ezekiel the 38th chapter, Revelation the 20th chapter, and and basically saying that I don't even know where to start. But basically he was going into the fact that, or not the fact, but he was basically saying that in the kingdom, after the Lord comes back and we're established, and then this devil has been taken down, that they're basically going to rise back up again. Okay. And, there've been a lot of videos done on it, which is great, because we got to defend the gospel and bring the correct understanding of these actual scriptures here. But what I want to do is I want to scrutinize the video. When you look up the word scrutinize, it means to closely examine. Okay. Because sometimes you got to get detailed like that. Right. And if this is truly sound doctrine, then that means that no matter the level of scrutiny, it should make sense. Right. It should all piece together. But that doesn't hold for this. Okay. So I don't know how far I'm going to go in this video. But let's see where the spirit takes it. But I'd like to start right around the 3 hour and 23-ish minute mark. And let's see. And let's hear what's being said in here. Okay.
That first resurrection, right? On such, the second death hath no power. That's when Christ judges the whole planet, all generations, all souls, all spirits, right? But they shall be priests of God. Those of us that take part in the first resurrection shall be priests of God. And
let me actually slow this down a bit.
Of Christ.
And of Christ.
And shall reign with him 1,000 years.
How long are we going to reign with him?
1,000 years.
Come on.
And when the 1,000 years are expired.
Now this goes back to what we read in Isaiah 24. And when the 1,000 years are expired, go ahead.
Satan shall be loosed out of his prison.
Oh, wait a minute. Go back to Isaiah 24. I just want you to see it. Isaiah 24, the second to last verse.
And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison. And after many days.
Many days is how long, brothers? 1,000 years?
Shall they be.
Which there's no scripture that says that the many days in Isaiah 24 is 1,000 years. That's something that he just made up right there. Okay.
Visited.
Now let's go back to Revelation 20, verse 7.
And when.
Let me actually back up real quick. Because what's interesting is YouTube will keep a video like this up, right, with those pictures in there. Because when you click on this video, it tells you there's some graphic content, and if you still want to click it anyway. But let one of us have this in our videos, and our video is gone, gone. But let's establish a few things here, right? So according to what was said in this video, in Revelation the 20th chapter, he's saying here that in the 4th verse of Revelation 20, right, when it deals with the actually the 5th verse, when it says that the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This means when you deal with like Israelites and so on and so forth that died, right? Let me actually go back and play it so you can hear it. That they're not going to come back until the 1,000 years is fulfilled. So let's hear that.
The rest of the dead live not.
Verse 5 again. Listen what the Bible says.
Come on now, dog.
But the rest of.
If you're a child
like years were finished.
5.
But the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection.
Here's another thing. Beware of dumb Israelite camps that say, oh, you can sin. It don't matter what kind of sin you're in. You coming back as a baby in the kingdom of heaven. So if you're a child molester, a homosexual, an adulterer, drug addict, drug user, drug abuse. It doesn't matter. You'll die and come back as a baby in the kingdom of heaven. Read verse 5 again.
Well, I mean, that's what happens now, no? You know, that's the cycle of reincarnation. The only thing is, in the kingdom is where it stops for Israelites. Okay, so those that die on this side, they're gonna have to be brought back on the earth through the seed of those that make it, you know, that make it on the first go around. Because then if not, here's an interesting thing. If the wicked Israelites that die on this side are not gonna come back until 1,000 years, and then you're gonna have the elect that make it on this side, number one, does that mean that the elect are not gonna have children until 1,000 years? Because if the elect have children, those children would have to be Israelites. So then the question remains, who are going to be those children that the elect are going to have in the kingdom? Are those going to be new spirits that are created while the wicked Israelites they're in the waiting room somewhere, you know, for 1,000 years before they come back on the earth?
Again, listen what the Bible says.
Come on now, dog.
But the rest of the dead live not again.
No, they came back as a baby, Yuri.
Live not again.
He came back as a baby, Yuri.
Lived not again.
Until when?
Until the 1,000 years were finished.
Until the 1,000 years were finished. Y'all see that?
So, but so does that mean that even the heathens that die on this side, they're going, everybody that dies is going to need to wait for 1,000 years before they come back? That's the question.
Go ahead.
This is the first resurrection.
Now, jump. No, just keep reading. Just keep reading.
Blessed and holy is he that hath part.
Now, when you actually read in Revelation 20, okay, since we're here, when it refers here to the rest of the dead not living until the 1,000 years were finished, this is not talking about them actually being, you know, physically dead and then not being able to come back alive. Oh, Salaki, let me share this tab. Not being able to come back alive until 1,000 years. Okay, the rest of the dead here is talking about these other nations. And the reason it says that they did not live again, all right, until the 1,000 years were finished, is because during that 1,000-year period, they're going to be serving hardcore captivity. Okay, they're going to be servants. They're going to be working. They're going to be put to work, right? So when you actually look up here, the word lived in the blue letter, it tells you here, it says, live again, recover life, to be restored to a correct life, right? Of one who returns to a better moral state. Because where they're going to be for that 1,000 years, for example, when we were in captivity under Esau during the hardcore slavery, right? We were not living, okay? We were not in a better moral state. We were not in a correct life. We were treated as less than, you know, humans. Okay. So obviously we're not going to do the inhumane, you know, the wicked things that they did to us, but we are going to have them in captivity. So they're not going to be living a correct life. They're going to be living as hardcore servants. Okay. Serving us. And then after that 1,000 years, when they serve their sentence, they're going to be restored to a correct life. They're going to be restored to a better moral state, i.e. they're going to have their lands back and they're still going to be subject unto us. Okay, but they're going to be, you know, a little more free, and they still going to pay tribute to us, and they're still going to follow our ways and our laws. That's what it means when it says that the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. Okay, not that that didn't come back to actual life until the 1,000 years were finished. But let's actually go with that. Let's go on that basis, right? Because that's where his video is going with this. That those that die on this side, they're not going to come back to life. They're not going to come back as a baby. Ain't none of that until 1,000 years is finished. Okay. So let's keep on listening. Right. So here now we're dealing with this, right? The 7th verse. Okay, which, you know, when you actually read the book of Revelation, a part of the reason why it's a mystery is because it's not directly straightforward. Okay, the correct order to actually read this is from verse 3. You have to go down to verse 7. Okay. When you verse 4 to 6 is talking about a different time period. Okay. But anyway, let's keep. But what he does is he connects this. He connects all of this, and let's see as we scrutinize this if that's actually sound doctrine.
Go ahead.
Satan shall be loosed out of his prison.
Oh, wait a minute. Go back to Isaiah 24. I just want you to see it. Isaiah 24, the second to last verse.
And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison. And after many days.
Many days is how long, brothers? 1,000 years?
God. Where does it say that? Where does it say that many days is 1,000 years? It doesn't. In Isaiah 24, it doesn't say that. But once again, this is something that you got to throw up in there in order for you to be able to build upon it. So you throw it in there nicely, you get everybody to be on board with it, and then we can continue. But that's not in there.
Shall they be visited?
Now let's go back to Revelation 20, verse 7.
And when the 1,000 years are expired.
So we gonna lock them up in the Caucasus Mountain. Keep that in mind. But then after 1,000 years, we're gonna let them loose.
Be loose after 1,000 years. Go ahead.
We're gonna be loose.
And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle.
Okay. So now here's an interesting thing about about this, right? We're gonna gather them up, right? According to Isaiah 24, put them in prison, and they're gonna be locked up in the Caucasus Mountains for 1,000 years, and then after 1,000 years, the Most High is gonna tell us, let them loose. Right? The Most High is gonna tell us, let them loose, but specifically Satan, right? Which is Esau. So we're gonna let, because he said the Caucasus Mountains, he's talking about the Edomites. So we're gonna let Esau loose. And then Esau, after that 1,000 years, is going to go up and go to the four corners of the earth and gather the nations to war. Okay. Now let's actually go back to Isaiah 24. And when we read Isaiah 24 and starting at 21, those that are gathered in here as prisoners are not just Edomites. This is talking about all the nations. Okay. Because, and it specifies, because it tells you here, and it shall come to pass in verse 21, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. So that you're going to have the Edomites, but you're also going to have the other nations, right? The kings of the earth, or let me share this tab. The kings of the earth are the rulers of these other nations. We're not just going to take their rulers. We're going to take all of them, and so that's Edomites and these other nations, shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. So according to Nate, this is going to be 1,000 years. But then what's interesting is, why is it that after 1,000 years, we're just going to release only Esau? Right? When 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loose. So what about the rest of the nations? They're just going to still be in the prison? And if they're still in the prison, then how come in verse 8 it says that he's going to go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth? I thought they were going to be gathered up in the prison somewhere. Because once again, in Isaiah 24, it's not just Esau that's a prisoner. But apparently, it's going to be only Esau that we release after 1,000 years from the Caucasus Mountains. And then somehow the rest of the nations that are supposed to still be in that pit, in that prison, because they weren't released, somehow they're going to be in the four corners of the earth, and Esau's going to go to them and gather them to battle. So that part doesn't really make sense to me. But I think let's keep on listening. There might be a little bit more, because I'm a little curious now as to if they're in the Caucasus Mountain for 1,000 years as prisoners. Well, let's actually hear that.
The number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
Now let me tell you something about verse 8. in verse 8, there's time in there. In order for Gog and Magog to gather together the nations against God's people, that takes time. It does not take a day. It does not take a year. Because not only do you got to gather nations, you also need what to come up against us? Weapons. Because remember, when we rule, if y'all remember, in Isaiah 2, what did we do? Nation learned what? War no more. We made them beat their swords into plowshares. So for 1,000 years, there's no war on the earth. Now we loose this white man. Gog and Magog go out to gather together the nations. Time is in there.
So let's go to that. The nation's not learning war anymore. Learn war no more. Learn war. There we go. Isaiah 2 and 4. I mean, I guess I must be missing something, because I didn't realize that learn war anymore meant don't learn war for only 1,000 years, and then after that go and get into go and get into war mode again. Let's read Isaiah 2 and 4. It says, "And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore." When you say that you're not going to do this anymore, that doesn't, anymore means continually, indefinitely, it's just continuous, right? It doesn't mean that, oh, you're not going to learn war anymore for 1,000 years, and then after that you're gonna get back up, and then you're gonna gather the nations for the same war that the scriptures say you ain't gonna learn anymore. How does that make sense? So all of a sudden, anymore means 1,000 years. Well, why didn't they just specify that in here? The second thing is the kind of weapons, right, that they're so-called going to be taking time to build. Wow. Let's think about this on a practical sense, right? Because here's the thing about the scriptures. It's all fun and games to break it down however you want, right? However you want, when you're not thinking about it in a practical sense. But the scriptures are practical because they're referring to actual real life events, right? So yeah, like the brother asked, good questions. They're making weapons in the prison. That's the question. It's going to take time. So once again, according to this narrative, we're going to let loose the Edomites. And then for a period of time, these people that are supposed to be, number one, exterminated according to Obadiah 1 and 18, but let's just assume that doesn't happen. Yet, for a period of time, we just going to be looking elsewhere, looking up in the stars, trying to count how many stars there are, while the Edomites, right under our rule, instead of paying tribute, right, and instead of doing what we're telling them to do, they're going to be having time and resources to go and build weapons that they can use to come against us. When we were captives under the Egyptians, tell me at what point we had time to build weapons. They had us in a specific area where they could monitor us. They had taskmasters set over us. So at what point, and the Egyptians were men. Let's put it that way. The Egyptians were men. But at what point did we even have a second to breathe, to let alone say, we're gonna start gathering weapons and then sneak this here and then try to rebel against them? So if we couldn't even rebel, here it is. We are the God's chosen people. We couldn't even rebel against the Egyptians, save the Lord intervened, right? When we were put captive under Esau, Edom, we couldn't even rebel to come against them. Can you imagine all the slaves that were here? All of a sudden, they turned into blacksmiths and swordsmiths and silversmiths, and they just built all this joint and they just took over Esau. So we couldn't even rebel against other men, heathens. But in the kingdom of heaven, where we have spiritual power, we're immortal, we're gods. We have the power of unlike any other. In that kingdom of all kingdoms is when the basest of men, after they've been beaten and put in captivity and put in prison they're going to have the time, the availability, and the resources to say, we're going to build weapons. Now, what kind of weapons would you be able to build in your mind, in your right mind, to say, we're going to go and take down gods? First off, gods are immortal. That's number one. So they're going to look at Jerusalem. They're going to say, that's where the immortal gods are living at. Let's build weapons and go up against them. Because we got hope. We got faith that we could take them down. And we're just going to be sitting right there. We're going to let them loose. We're going to sit right there. And we're going to say, yep, come on with it. Now, when you look at today's society, do you know how long and how much money and how much resources it takes for them to even build the kind of weapons they have today? Do you know how complicated it is? How much heads need to come together? How much experiments need to be done? How much testing needs to be done for you to put together a sophisticated modern weapon that can even do a relative amount of damage? But they're going to be able to gain all that in our kingdom, where we're supposed to be ruling over them with a rod of iron. And we're talking about the Edomites, of all people, the ones that we got our eyes on the most. For some reason, we're just not going to see when they're building these weapons to come up against us. How does that make sense on a practical level? Realistically speaking, what ruler sits there and says, I'm going to let those that are under me come together, put together weapons? Matter of fact, let me give you some resources, actually, because being the ruler, do not I have access to all the resources? If all the weapons are burned and destroyed pursuant to Ezekiel 39 and Isaiah, the 2nd chapter, everything, their weapons were turned into agricultural tools. At what point and how is this even possible? And where's the prophecy on that? Because it is damn sure not Revelation 20. It is not Revelation 20. Yeah, Khan, Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yahushai Barakatam, like the Elder Malcolm said. So after the banner is lifted and we are in our power with the new angelic bodies, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is with us, the Edomites raise back up. That makes all the sense in the world. Wow. Damn. Why didn't we think about that? Damn, man, that was deep, actually. You know what? I think he really got it. I think he got it, just like they got on here. Somebody said they said something along the lines of, wow, the knowledge has truly increased, on the comment board. They said, wow, the knowledge has truly increased since the last time I was at the school. Damn, this is crazy, man. But let's keep going. Let's hear a bit more, because there's another point in here. And I mean, if we said we're going to address every single point in here, we're probably going to be here for a long time, but there's one more in here that I wanted to address as well.
And it does not say how long it takes. Read verse 8 again.
And shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the 4 quarters of the earth. God.
And also, time out. You look at Esau's kingdom today. Esau's kingdom today, they got cameras everywhere, right? And Esau is dealing with low-level technology compared to what we're going to have in the kingdom. So they got surveillance everywhere. They got camera. They got FBI. They got all these people watching everything. You try to come past a certain area that's what's the word I'm looking for? It's like, it's restricted. They're gonna catch your ass quick. But in our kingdom, for some reason, they're gonna be able to do all of this, which is gonna take time. So instead of serving us, you got time. What kind of rulers are we gonna be? Where we got a kingdom that we need work done on, but you got time to go and build weapons and to gather the nations. And ain't none of them gonna say nothing. We ain't gonna see none of that. We're just gods with airheads, getting high on some clouds somewhere, so we don't even realize what's going on right underneath our nose. And then Yahushai, the second most powerful being in all of existence, he's not gonna have any idea what's going on. Oh my goodness. Oh. Shalom, Apostle. Oh man.
Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea.
Read.
And they went up on the breadth of the earth
And what they do?
and compassed the camp of the saints about.
So remember, Isaiah 2 again. The mountain of the Lord shall be exalted above all mountains and all hills. You got to look up at it. So they're going to say, you know what? We can defeat them. They got to get all the nations in agreement with that thing first. So read it again.
And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about and the beloved city.
Mm-hmm.
And fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them.
And devoured them. Go ahead.
And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are.
So where America and the 7 heads and 10 horns and the church system are already at. So
where's that? Why didn't he mention that? Where exactly is that that place that America and the church system and the 7 heads and the 10 horns? First off, when you say America, the judgment that's coming, the Lord is not coming here because he's looking at the actual physical land and he's like, the land itself is wicked, so I need to let me get all the people off the land and I'm gonna just put some judgment on the land. The people make the land wicked. When you say America, the reason America is wicked is because of those that are ruling over it, right? The beast is not a power structure without people, right? So where exactly is America and the beast and the false prophet and all of that? Where are they at? Because who makes up the beast? Is it not Esau's power structure? So I'm assuming then some portion of the Edomites, they in the lake of fire somewhere. And then the other portion that were locked up in the Caucasus Mountains and got freed, they went and gathered all the other nations. And they had enough cojones to look up at the city of the gods and say, yeah, we're going to go in and compass it round about. And then once we get there, the fire is going to come down from God out of heaven. And it's going to consume them. But then after they consume, they're going to be cast into the lake of fire. Yo. Oh.
Let you know time has gone by. Let's go back to Ezekiel 38 now. So I'm going to say something else. Don't let black Hebrew Israelites fool you into saying Ezekiel 38 is today. These black Hebrew Israelites get that dumb doctrine from Christians.
Oh, so now we're black Hebrew Israelites. Okay. So when you go to the books that they have, right, the Project Megiddo and all of that, they're gonna say all these groups, they're black Hebrew Israelites, but the IUIC, they just Israelites. We not all, like if something went down, they wouldn't classify all of us together, right? They would just say, nope, they just these guys are the BHI. You good, and they might do that because maybe you got something going on with them, somewhere. Because this is just pure madness. This doesn't even make sense, and that's the whole point of scrutinizing this video. Because in order for you to sit there and believe something, you need to actually scrutinize. You got to be like the Church of Berea. You got to say, oh, you went to this precept, this verse, you said it means this. Let me go there and let me read it too. And then let me ask questions, because if what you're saying is sound, then I should be able to ask all the questions about it and they should all make sense. What you're saying should be able to answer it all. But that's not happening here.
Christians will read Ezekiel 38 and go, that's today. Have we reigned with Christ 1,000 years yet, brothers? No, we have not. So now we're in Ezekiel 38. Come on.
Now let's go forward a bit. I want to go to the 28, 3 hour and 28. There you go. Let's go there.
The mountains up. I want the caves of Khazaria, the Caucasus Mountains, right there. Yuri, read.
Look, you see this? God is truly with IUIC. You see, and that's the thing, right? All right, it's like it's comical, but at the same time, guess what? These are people that are actually being misled. And yeah, those that are not of the elect, they will be misled because they don't have the mind to actually, think about what's being said and say, does this actually make sense? They just look at who's saying it. Oh, it's him? Yep, that's it. It makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world. So they're going to be blinded and they're going to get their judgment. But guess what? their blood is going to be on your hands because you're misleading them. And here's the thing about the Most High. When judgment comes, the thing about judgment is once you start to see judgment upon the earth, that means the word of the Lord has already gone out and it's now taking effect. There's no undo button. There's no like, oh, Lord, I'm sorry. Can you please like have mercy? The mercy would have been that the Lord wouldn't even send the judgment upon you in the first place. But once you start to see that judgment, keep in mind that you're going to be forced to keep the same energy, meaning you cannot go back. You can't say, oh, Lord, I know I did this and please forgive. That's not going to happen. Because the Lord takes his word very, very seriously. And that's why we don't look, because guess what? The Lord will bring judgment on us. If we sat there and heard all this and just said, nah, let it be. Hell no. What you mean let it be? Because this is corrupting the word of the Lord. You're using the same scriptures, you're using the same book, but you're using it to teach a false doctrine. And so us, because the Lord didn't give us the correct understanding for no reason. So we are to bring that out, but we're also supposed to, the way you defend the gospel is by, if somebody's trying to taint it, you got to say, no, that's not what that means. This is actually what it means. And this is why we're saying that's not what that means.
Who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men.
We have drove them forth from among men. Go ahead.
To dwell in the cliffs of the valleys.
That's it right there. To dwell in the cliffs of the valley.
In caves of the earth.
In caves of the earth. Go ahead. And shall be shut up in prison. All Ezekiel 24, read that part again. It says they shall be shut up in prison.
Yes, sir. Isaiah. Yes, sir.
Isaiah, I'm sorry. Isaiah 24. I ain't looking at the verse. Help me out.
Yes, sir. I got you. Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 22. And they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited.
They're going right back to that same prison. You remnant of Edomites, y'all cannot go past the Caucasus Mountains.
So first off, they're going right back into that prison. We went into Isaiah 24 and showed Isaiah 24 is not talking about just the Edomites. Okay, this is talking. It mentions. It says what? The host of the high ones that are on high and the kings of the earth upon the earth. That's not just Esau. That's these other nations as well. Okay. But now you're saying that they're going to be stuck in the Caucasus Mountains. They can't go past that. Right? That's what he just said, no?
You remnant of Edomites, y'all cannot go past the Caucasus Mountains. Y'all stay right there. But then guess what? The Lord's going to tell us, release them.
So according to that, they're going to stay right there in the Caucasus Mountains until the Lord tells us to release them. So they're going to be in the Caucasus Mountains. That's the prison that they're going to be in for 1,000 years, right? But we know, according to verse 21, that the other heathens are also going to be taken as prisoners, right? So if they're stuck in the Caucasus Mountains for 1,000 years, who's going to be fulfilling these prophecies? And when I say these prophecies, I'm referring to, let's take a look here at Isaiah 60 and 10, right? It says here, this is Isaiah chapter 60, verse 10. Actually, you know what? Let me start at 9. It says, surely the isle shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish to bring thy sons from far, their silver and their gold with them, unto the name of the Lord thy God, and to the Holy One of Israel, because he hath glorified thee. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls. Well, according to him, them coming to the land of unwalled villages, that's going to be in the kingdom, because we ain't going to have walls. The only wall, the walls are going to be like our home walls, but we ain't going to have like no outer defense walls. Anyway, the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee, meaning they're going to serve us. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor I had mercy on thee. So who's going to be doing that? If they're in the Caucasus Mountains and they're going to be stuck there for 1,000 years, the rest of the heathens, they're in prison for 1,000 years, right? Because apparently many days shall they be visited. That's 1,000 years. So the heathens are in prison for 1,000 years. The Edomites are in the Caucasus Mountains for 1,000 years. Who's going to be building up our walls? Yahushua is going to come. We're going to take over the earth, and we're just going to sit there waiting for 1,000 years, watching them while they're in the Caucasus, watching them while they're in the pit, waiting for 1,000 years. And then after that, we're just going to say, all right, let them loose so they can come against us. Verse 11, therefore thy gates shall be open continually, and they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, which is their riches, and that their kings may be brought. But wait, they locked up. So who's fulfilling this prophecy here? Right? There's a verse that says that I think there's another one that says that they're gonna pretty much like feed our flocks. Who's gonna be doing that? After the war is over, who's gonna be cleaning up the dead bodies? Because it's not gonna be us. This is what I mean when I say you got to think on a practical level. These prophecies are speaking about real life events that are gonna happen. So they have to make sense. If you're saying, no, this means this and this is that and this gonna happen here, and it doesn't even make sense in a realistic aspect, something is wrong over there. All right. It says, for the nation and the kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. In fact, it also says that they're gonna come up. Right. I forget what a holy day or what precept it was, but it says the nation that doesn't come up to keep it, we're gonna make it so they don't get any rain. But how are they gonna do that if they locked up in the pit? And Esau's locked up in the Caucasus Mountains. It's not making sense, man. It's not making sense.
Set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against them, and say, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal.
Come on.
And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws.
Yeah, Ezekiel 38 is talking about this time. All right. Ezekiel 38 is not talking about in the kingdom. Why would the Most High say that I'm going to give you rest? None shall make you afraid anymore. And then 1,000 years after that, he says, all right, now I'm going to stir up Gog, which Gog is Russia. So what about the other Edomites? You know? But yeah, now I'm going to stir up the Edomites and they're going to come against you. And then when they do, the 144,000 and Yahushua, they're not going to be here. They're going to be elsewhere. They're going to be elsewhere so these people can pull up and they can do what they got to do. And then they're going to come back and then fire is going to come down from heaven. It doesn't make sense. All right. It doesn't make sense. And guess what? When this actual war starts popping off, the thing about these prophecies, let me actually bring out this precept and then I'll close it out. But let's actually go here to the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. Where are we? Yeah, Habakkuk 2 and 3, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time. And in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, it tells you in the latter days. The key word there is the latter days. The latter days of what? The latter days of this age, of this time period. These are end time prophecies. The kingdom is not going to have latter days. Okay? After the 1,000 years, we're still going to be ruling. But continuing, it says here that for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. And that's the key part, that at the end it shall speak and not lie. Meaning these prophecies, they're going to happen exactly as they've been written. The same way we've been breaking them down to you is exactly how they're going to be fulfilled. And when they start happening, you'll see, like, your mind will immediately go on to these chapters and say, damn, these words are literally flying off of the page. Like, this is exactly what the Lord said is going to happen. So when that starts taking place, you're going to start to understand why we're telling you that Ezekiel 38 is talking about now. And as that gets fulfilled, you're going to see, damn, that breakdown I gave it didn't sound too good. And then we're going to look out and see if maybe you come and change it and tweak it a little bit. All right. But these are the words of the Lord, man. And we keep on, we can't stress it enough. The Lord has a heavy penalty for those that taint his word. If you pollute the word of the Lord, as the scriptures tell you, if you add to it or take away from it, the Most High is going to bring great judgment. All right. And it's very interesting to see because, they're waxing worse and worse. The more breakdowns that they're bringing out is getting worse and worse. And it's showing you that the Lord is taking that, basically taking everything away. So we're going to see. All right, we're going to see. But anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Like I said, if we were to go through every single part in here, we'd be here for a long time. Okay, but Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. And Barakatha Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Wa, the Wadi Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, for having blessed us with the correct understanding, of these scriptures, starting with the elders and apostles of Great Millstone on down. We thank the Lord that he's given us a correct mind, to understand and to believe the true doctrine of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Recha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.